Welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in at home. We're a bit late due to some techno issues. My name is Cas Slaats and I'm part of Studio Krom. And joining me here on stage is Joris van Oers. He's my colleague, also part of Studio Krom, and dancer and young choreographer Izah Hankammer. She's part of the collective Move. And we're gonna talk a bit about the installation that we're presenting at TAC during the What a Time to Be Alive exhibition. And we're gonna watch the performance Izah did with and within the installation. So Joris and I, we started a project a while ago called The Marvelous Container. And it's about this mental picture that you have of your own body and the tools and technology that we use to capture our bodies and to look at ourselves and present ourselves. And it all started when we read an article that kind of insinuated that the amount of nose jobs, plastic surgery, was related to the selfie cam, like people taking selfies. And when you take a selfie, there's something weird happening with the perspective. Your nose looks a bit bigger because of the placement of the lens. And apparently a lot of people went surgery to fix that big nose. But it made us think that the tools we use have a big impact on this mental image that you have of your physical self. And we thought it was rather interesting. So we started experimenting with coming up with new tools that also capture and portray our bodies, but in a different way that is more surprising and in a way that you're not used to. And out of those experiments, the installation, also called The Marvelous Container, was born. And the installation is presented here at TAC, also this coming weekend. You can come and visit it. And what it does is kind of scans visitors, and visitors get portrayed in this big room, and the installation takes physical elements of the body and makes a kind of big landscape out of it. And people can go explore their own physical self in this whole new way by getting really close and walking through this landscape. And other people's, because it is in a public space, other people can do that as well. It's the same as posting a picture to Instagram. Like this community can also watch. Joris, can you maybe start by explaining why we thought it was interesting to add a performer to the installation?
Yeah, I think a good thing to mention also is when we talk about self-image, we're talking about the physical self-image.
Yeah,
because it's of course a broader term. But why we wanted to have a performer, or why we even started thinking about adding another artist to the project, because we were exhibiting the work. So we were asked by TAC if we could organize some kind of event. And now it's a live stream, but beforehand it was we were kind of still looking at some kind of live performance, but of course it can't happen now with the rules. But we were starting to think, like, with this theme that we're kind of discovering ourselves and also looking into ourselves, the installation we made, it kind of shows what kind of new tools you can do and what technology can do, additionally to the things that we already use, like phones and selfie cameras, and what kind of perspectives it can give additional to that. And that's kind of a part of an answer, but there's also a lot of questions in the installation, like how do we perceive ourselves and how much influence do those digital representations have? And those kind of questions, to have those looked at by different artists was something that we were super interested in. So we were looking at music and at different kind of sections of artistry, and then we started thinking about dance, something that we have no clue about because we saw a couple things, but we're not well known into that art form. But we thought it was really could be a really beautiful thing to have someone that knows their body and uses their body to express themselves, and have them have kind of a reflection on their self-image within this installation that we built with a new perspective that it gives. And then we were suggested a couple names, and we came to Izah, and yeah, maybe it's good if you introduce yourself a little bit, and then we watch the video and then go on from there.
Hi, so my name is Izah. I'm a dancer and a young choreographer from Move. We're a collective based in Tilburg, in the Netherlands. And yeah, I just recently graduated actually, so it's my second time now in the Dutch Design Week. And I always find it fascinating to be in touch with different types of art forms and so many different perspectives. And I think like when I called Joris, because I got an email from Joris and he kind of briefly explained the project. And I called Joris and we were talking about it, and I thought like the dance performance would fit just so well with the concept, because it's so much about self-perception and also body image. And I feel like these are topics that we as dancers or as performers are constantly confronted with. So it sounded like a really interesting experiment project to get into. So then I thought, like, let's go for it.
And what I also really liked was the idea, we make a lot of experiences for people normally as a studio, but now the user also use it in a sort of artistically way. And so working together with the installation to create something, that's really interesting as well. This co-creation between like this technical installation and you as a dancer was really interesting to me.
It's also funny that you use the word co-creation now, because this is what we're really used to as dancers, that we're always creating with the other bodies in the space. We're always creating with the choreographer. So like I feel that your approach on designing this installation also really fit, I don't know, like my experience in dance.
Yeah,
so
cool.
That's cool.
Nice. And we saw you working these couple of days, and what we do, yours and I, always makes experiments, and we analyze them, and out of those little experiments an installation comes, or an experience, or a product, or whatever. And when I saw you working, you kind of did the same thing, I thought, because you were trying out stuff in the installation, and we're going to look at the final product in just a second. But you were drawing and trying out stuff. How do you approach something like that? Is it about experimenting, finding out, exploring?
Yeah, I think it's a lot about movement research for me, because, I mean, especially in this space with the installation, the space itself gives you already so much to play with and to interact with. And because you also have different parts in the installation, there were different kind of things that I kind of just thought of, and ideas that came up when I was in a certain space, in a certain projection, and then another one when I was in another projection, and also how you've kind of shaped, how you've given form to the projections, also really gave me a form in the space that I could play with. So yeah, for me, I kind of like just tried out. I write down a lot in my process, because I like to write down things that come up in my head, or just associations that come up during the process. And then I kind of work from there, and then experiment with the movement and see what fits, see what works. And then through that, I get some depth into the movement also.
And what I also liked, I had a little peek in our book. You write a lot of words, right?
Yeah.
Just words to describe what you want to achieve. And when we kind of make sketches of first, it is always drawing, really bad, but to kind of get a visual look. So I thought it was quite interesting, because it's all about the visual aspect of your work. You can look at it, but you kind of use words to describe it. I thought that was funny that we switched it around. Maybe it's nice to first have a look at the video, if we can maybe start the performance. Right. So due to some technical issues, the overlay didn't work, but you can find a link to the performance on the social medias of TAC. The movie was shot and made by Clara Gus, right?
Yeah.
And we recorded on Monday. And it was really interesting to see while the recording was taking place.
Mm-hmm.
You saw in the clip you use this tool, this scanner, to put your appearances out on the walls. And at first, I had the feeling it just happened and the machine did its thing. But in the end, you really kind of get the hang of it, and you knew how to position your face, how to align everything right. So it was really fun to see. That's just the installation, just another tool that you can learn to use to steer kind of.
Yeah, it's just like a really big phone.
Yeah, right.
That works in a very different way because, I eventually, like, at first it was so difficult because it has like these two lines that detect your eyes and your mouth, and then you kind of have to place your face in front of the screen so that you're in the right area, and then it's able to detect where your facial parts are. And then at first it was really not working, and I was wondering, like, maybe my face is too small for this or something. Maybe like it's not made to have different forms of faces, or I don't know. But then eventually, like, it took me just like 1 second. I just like went there, and then it already clicked. And the first few times that I was doing it, it was like trying to find where I had to put my face, and it took me like maybe 2 minutes before it could detect. But then, you kind of get used to it. It's just like getting a new phone, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like, except it's in this form, and then it doesn't show your selfie in the same way. It's kind of like a selfie thing, but it shows different perspectives.
Yeah, I think that we like to make that kind of installation that people can use to their own liking, you know, and that the output or the whole world that you're presenting can be changed by the users. So I like that about this. It's in continuously state of change because every time someone new gets scanned or you scan it again, it's different.
Yeah, but it was also the first time you used it because we practiced with like test images, and we did the projection mapping just so that you could like see how the spaces would work. But you never used it before, like the first time you've seen a video. So how was it for you to like do something that's so almost improvised in a way? Because you did prepare, of course, but it was the first time you actually got to experience the installation.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when we were doing because I had my movement material already planned a little bit, but I think when we were shooting the video and the whole installation was also really filming my face, I feel like for me, performative wise, like in a performative sense, it gave me kind of a different layer because like it was my face that was being projected, you know, and I never rehearsed it like that because it was usually just some projection. And then I feel like I got more in touch also with the theme that we're working with, because every time that I was really in touch with my body because I was moving the whole time, but then every time I switched my head to one side, like I would see my eye, and then I switched to another side, and then I would see a different part of myself. So I thought that was really cool to work with. Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe it's good to mention that we're looking into how to turn this into a bigger piece or bigger performance. But can you maybe tell a bit about the different movements that you kind of designed for the different places?
Yeah.
Give a bit of insight in that.
Yeah, so I kind of worked on because there are 3 different projections. There's one projection which has like the fragmented bits, fragmented surfaces that also, I don't know if it's here, but
it will be there.
Yeah, it will be there. But like these fragmented screens, I mean parts of the projection where you see different parts, and then there's this like really big wall, kind of this portrait wall that really zooms in. This is the one that I'm talking about. And then there's this circular surface which is projected from above. So perspective-wise, like just being in the space itself, it gave me different associations. Like the fragmented ones really made me think of how the digital space is really an overwhelming space which has so much information, and I really had to, because I was looking at the projection and I had to switch my eyes all the time to be able to really focus on each thing that was being projected. I kind of recognized that eye movement when I also scroll my phone, that like my eye just goes like up and down and up and down, and the same when I'm using a computer. So I kind of put those two associations together and then worked from that. Worked from this kind of overwhelming sense of information. And then the circular one is kind of, or maybe the portrait one, the big wall. I kind of had to think about how we as individuals start to feel really small when we're interacting with a digital space, because everyone is always posting about their successes, everyone is posting about all the positive things, but never about the negative things that also happen in real life. You know, this is part of real life, but we only get exposed to those things, and I think that mentally that's also really heavy for us to absorb, because then we always feel like we're never doing enough, like in our career or personal growth or whatever. Then we always feel really small, and that's also how the projection made me feel like, because I felt I am already a small dancer, and then in the projection I felt really small because it was so big. And then there's the circular space, which, like, for me, movement-wise, it was the most interesting and most fun to play with. I also
noticed.
spent
Yeah, we noticed.
But also because that part is made out of wood, so it's nice and warm in comparison to like the normal floor, which is made out of concrete. So I always warmed up there also. But that one kind of, because the projection is from above, it really makes you feel like you're immersed in your own projection, and it's almost like this feeling as if, you know, your digital self-perception is more important than your real self-perception.
Right.
Because we're always thinking about, I mean, you know, we have like the physical life, and then we have our online life, and I feel like more and more as years pass by, the percentage of the physical life that we're involved in gets like smaller and smaller bit by bit, and then the digital life gets a little bit bigger. I remember like when I was 16 or something, I really didn't want to have anything to do with digital space, or I didn't want to have that much online presence. And now, especially as an artist, as a dancer, it's important to have like international connections. It's important to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So I'm super aware of my online presence. And yeah.
When you compare that online presence with, when you just look at that as in a physical way, right? A physical representation online. And when you compare it with your real body, does it match up? Are they the same, or are they different?
I mean, I think that we always want to put like the best part of ourselves forward. But I also think that people know that people know that this is,
that it's framed.
That it's the same way like in real life you have a certain perception of how you want to come over as a person, and then there's the real you, like how you really are as a person. And I think that there's always a small discrepancy in that. And I think that's the same online, except everyone just kind of knows that, you know, your online self is just like the 150% self that we all want to be.
Yeah, and it's also like people kind of anticipate on it, like when you don't know anyone or someone in real life, and you just talk to them digitally, or you just met them on Facebook or whatever, on Instagram, then you always have the conversation with like a friend before, and like, is this person going to be like what I think it is right now? Because it's going to be so different when you meet them. Also with like with artists that you know, and then you meet them with the first concert you go to. It's super weird to see them in person all of a sudden because they're a little bit different. So I think everybody knows, but it's kind of always a question like how much of a difference is there going to be, and how much is the shock going to be of who this person is in real life.
I think we talked a lot about that, like the framing. People do that quite a lot, and you do it when you delete an ugly photo. It's already framing, and what's left are these better pictures, better versions of yourself, and that's what you're exposed to all the time. And that also impacts like this mental image you have of yourself, probably. But then that's why I like that the machine, the installation, just decides what's up there. You don't have a say in that.
Control. So when we were filming, I had to scan my face multiple times, because then we were like, oh no, it's only showing skin now. It's not very interesting for the video. And then sometimes it got like super interesting bits of my face, and then we're like, okay, let's film with those projections.
But it's also how people used it, right? When we people came in and they used this tool, and we designed it that you don't have a say in it. But then they kept rescanning until they're okay, this is kind of okay, now I can go. So in the end, it's still a tool that gets used in the way they want it to be.
So it was also interesting because it was designed to kind of make a selection indeed, and we were of course using it for a performance, so we were kind of looking at certain imagery. But we thought like people are going to walk in, scan themselves once if they get through the interface, because it's like you kind of have to how do you
get hang of it?
So and then you try it, and then you see yourself, and then probably people are going to either like it, like the images, or they're going to be disgusted by it or whatever, and they're going to hope someone else is going to use it. But then we heard from a couple people that they were like hanging around like a couple minutes to try different versions of themselves, and then get like their eye really big on the wall so that it looks nice, and then show other people. So it did like kind of exactly, or it went almost the same way, in the sense that people make a selection of what gets captured, and then try to get people to see that instead of their ugly or their imperfect.
Maybe that's like just really some, I don't know, our human nature. Respond like. Maybe that's really how we just respond to our self-perception in like digital forms.
Maybe it's just a tendency that we can't get rid of. But that's interesting about also, I'm not sure, I'm not paying attention to what we kind of had like as a general...
that's all right.
But then, because we were also wondering like what can we have technology now, like the selfie, and of course the smartphones, and also Facebook and Instagram and all sorts of different apps that put filters on you, and even without you knowing, or even like just as a standard default function, and that goes into like it plays into us wanting to look nice, of course. And then we thought like maybe we can make something else, a new tool that does it in a different way and doesn't do that perfection, doesn't play into that perfectionist aspect. But then people start using it that way.
Because we felt like all those new things kind of jumped on the bandwagon of like annihilating this imperfection. And what you mentioned, even with like the crazy Snapchat ears, when you put them on.
You always end up with makeup somehow.
And we kind of compared those filters, and but they also changed a little bit of the nose and all those things, and new mobiles that come with the function that soften the skins, and you have to turn it off.
Skype had it as well for like 2 days or something.
Kind of I never weird. Saw this on Skype.
They had some default like powder or something.
Oh wow.
But on the one hand, technology has this potential to really accurately display yourself. Like we can scan people high definition, every inch of the body. We can look inside bodies. And on the other hand, we don't want that, because when we offer them a tool like this, you're gonna use it in a way that is like masking all the imperfection.
It fits kind of what you want to.
It's also just really interesting that the quality of the outside camera is never the same as the selfie quality.
Which one is better, you mean?
I mean, like the outside, when you take pictures like this, if I'm taking a picture of that right now, that's always better. And then the selfie camera has always less quality.
I'm not sure. I thought I acted, but it's I'm digging this out of a memory that it's not accurate. Probably. I thought there was like a phone that was a thing that they had like the front-facing camera as the better camera than the back-facing one, but I'm not sure. That's like
yeah. I don't know if people would actually like that, because I don't know. Sometimes when you see like super high quality, high definition flat screens, and then I don't know if you're watching like a series or something, and there's like this really intense close-up on someone's face, then you see all the pores and all the things that you actually would never see in real life.
Yeah.
Like I'm never
You're not seeing it.
this close to a person.
Yeah, that's true. But when you think about if this development in annihilating imperfection goes on and on, you have these two different identities almost, like the real one and the online one, like the perfect one and the ugly raw real body. Do you guys think like it will get weird when those grow apart more?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like there's this like Black Mirror-like scenario where you get like to the point where you're so much into the digital version of yourself that you kind of just have an avatar that's just you, and everyone that encounters you is also in a digital space, so you're never gonna have to confront your physical body.
The whole physical world won't be there.
But that's
and then you can design your avatar also.
Yeah, exactly. So you're just gonna be what you want to be. But let's assume that that's not gonna happen soon. Yeah. And then there will be at least a period where you have like, or is that the right English? I don't know. Anyway, a moment where you kind of have to deal with the disruption of your physical self and your digital self. And now it's kind of, because we were wondering also how many times do you look at yourself in the mirror? Like let's say that's reality, or at least as real as you can get. And then you have the digital versions, which probably, if it's just a camera without a filter, is also just as real. But how much do you look at those images as compared to the mirror image of yourself? Yeah. And then when you start to use filters and stuff like that, how much is that of the percentage that you see yourself? And if that percentage gets more and more, like you said, like you get into the digital communications with others more and more, and the digital space becomes more similar to you every year, basically. If that balance changes, we wondered like how much does that impact the way you look at yourself? Because if you're going to look at like a perfected or at least like a selected version of yourself, you're going to probably be more self-confident maybe, or at least you kind of have like a perfect image of yourself that's presented to you back as well a lot. What does that do to the way you perceive yourself?
Yeah, it could also be a bit like there's nose correction, that you're trying to kind of follow this digital image, that I'm gonna keep enhancing my body to keep it matching up with this digital image I made of myself. Yeah. And then it just goes on and on until whatever happens in the end. Maybe it's also nice, you mentioned as a dancer you look differently at your body. We called the whole research project a marvelous container, and we thought it was quite, of course the body is super interesting, and it's we can understand why you're fixated on it, but in the end we thought, yours and I thought, our bodies are just the containers for us. We try to maintain them and kind of keep them healthy, but in the end it's just meat that does what I wanted to do, but nothing more. But for you as a dancer, it's completely different, of course. Yeah,
I find this really interesting because maybe I would be more likely to use the word vessel rather than container, because I feel like container kind of insinuates that it just holds you. Yeah. Like it's just a thing. But I feel like for me, especially when I start the day and I warm up for a whole, I don't know, rehearsal day, a normal working day, it's really about me being in touch with what my body experiences and how my body experiences the space, how I take in the space. So maybe like a normal person would think of, if I like grab this microphone right now, I think normal people think more about how it's just functional. I'm just using my body to grab the microphone. But as I don't know, I feel like as I grabbed this microphone, I felt that it was a little bit cold in here, and then there was a different texture here. So I think as dancers, we just have a very different sense of awareness of how we're using our body. Like, it's not always a functional thing, but sometimes it is the experience itself to move. Like, it's not about using the body as a tool. The body is the experience itself.
Right, yeah. Can you turn that off, or is it always on?
No, it's not always on. No, I mean, it depends also on, like, what the situation is, or like what the context is. Of course, in rehearsals, or especially in improvisation sessions, I feel like that's when I mean, that's how it is for me personally. I feel like that's when my performance, I mean, like, my awareness of my body is then really at its highest, because then I'm really trying to be in touch with my body and my impulses. And then, you know, in normal life, it would be less.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you think you have a better understanding of your body? Because when I look at my body, I often get like confused. Oh, is that me? When I see myself in a picture from behind or from the side. And everyone has this feeling, I think, that they think, oh, is that me? I'm standing weird.
Yeah.
And I have that quite a lot when I look at myself that's not in the front perspective that I see every morning in the mirror, or when I'm taking a selfie, or when I'm talking on Skype. But for you as a dancer, it's totally, you don't get surprised anymore, I think, right?
I mean, I don't always work with a mirror. So like, when I was in school, we did have classes with a mirror, but sometimes you also
classic dance studios.
Yeah, but then sometimes it was also needed for the work to not have mirrors, because then it was more about your physical sensation, or like your physical experience, rather than the form that you're creating with your body.
Right.
So I don't know, actually. Maybe I would not. Maybe in certain, like, I don't know, profiles, I also wouldn't recognize my body.
No, because I also noticed, I think at least when you were practicing, you were also filming yourself. So you kind of had an idea of what a movement was going to look like, probably. And then you were filming it also to check what it looked like. So is there like, sometimes you get surprised, like, oh, I thought it was going to look like this, but it's totally different?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like, oh, this is really cool what I'm doing. but then I see it back, and then I realize, oh, it's not really working in the space, or maybe I need to tweak this a little bit. It kind of, it's kind of a mirror, but it's nice that I like working with video more, because then as you're doing it, you're not seeing yourself in the present. And I think that can be really distracting sometimes. Like, you see yourself, doing it, but then in that moment, you're just more concerned about what you're doing.
Yeah, because otherwise you have instant feedback.
Yeah, and then I don't always want that, maybe,
I always wonder what that fixation is about, because if I'm talking on Skype and I have myself on the screen, I can't concentrate on anything else. But it's not like I want to look at myself, or I'm super narcissistic or something, but I just can't keep focusing on anything else. And it's also when I'm sitting like this, and there's a mirror or a window behind it that's reflecting. I can't not pay attention to like how I think I come across, or it's
but I
super
think
hard
everyone
to not
has it
focus
a
on.
bit, but I don't think it's like narcissistic or something,
No,
because
I
you
don't
are
think
not
it's
narcissistic. I know that.
But it's
No,
a
but
very
it's-
human kind of response.
So that kind of
to it.
fixation I find super interesting. And then also, why would you want to share that stuff? Because if I see myself, I'm not like, let's share this to everyone. But then there's like a whole culture, and I do it myself as well, at least to some point, because when you go on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you kind of have a profile picture at least. So you do share yourself with others online, but where does that need or that want come from? I'm super blanking on that. I have no clue.
Yeah, of course, it's
I
something
have
to
some
do
clue,
with
but-
being recognized and being seen by others in sort of way.
It's kind of like being present in other people's lives in a different way, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this being seen, you know. I think there is also like this whole obsession about being seen, like fame. You know,
Yeah.
being famous
For sure.
is a big obsession for a lot of people.
And then again, when you can frame it a bit and you can being seen in like
You can decide how you can be
you
seen.
can
Yeah.
orchestrate the whole
Is-
thing.
Is it kind of a distraction even for yourself, like a distraction from maybe the imperfections? Because if you can like get like a composed image online, and you can just look at that instead of maybe a less composed image of yourself in real life, is it like a comforting thing to people or to you? Or do you use it in that way? Do you use a lot of, do you post a lot about yourself online? Because I don't, and I have no...
I don't like posting selfies. I like posting more like fun moments where I do like posting like pictures of me, but not selfies in particular.
Yeah, so it's more about sharing experiences in your...
Yeah.
I don't share myself. I only share like work.
You share yourself.
No, yeah, well,
online.
I have a profile image, but that's, I think it, and probably some things, but not like real, like selfie kind of images.
Maybe it's nice also for the last to wrap it up a bit. Dive into. We talked about how people steer like this picture in towards kind of an ending. So they're not showing real reality, but they want to orchestrate or direct it a bit. That it is nicer, and they're framing the whole picture. Does it really matter if people doing that? If you have this, does it matter if you don't have a correct self-image? That it's not matching up with your real physical body? Does it even matter? Why should it matter? Can I be just a bit delusional about how I look like?
Yeah. So I think it becomes a problem when it's like super detached. So if it's if you have like a little bit more of a positive image and you kind of feel a little bit more confident about it or about yourself because of that, and then I think it's no problem at all. But like with the nose job example that we gave in the beginning, like where we started the project, when it becomes so disconnected from reality that you kind of start believing in something different, and your like behavior and behavior to others, but also behavior to yourself gets changed so much by like a false image or a shaped image that you're kind of unaware of, even that you composed it yourself, maybe if you're looking back at it like months later, because you make a decision maybe to make your nose a bit smaller or to use a filter or whatever, and then looking back at it 2 months later, maybe that decision is not like super aware in your mind again, so maybe it becomes more what you think is real. And when those things are disconnected in such a way that it influences your behavior, it might not even be a problem if it's in a positive way, but then it's good to be aware of that it does that, instead of you're just completely unaware of the influence it has, and then you just behave in certain ways that can be good or bad, but you have no clue where it comes from.
I don't think that the will to change your body is necessarily a bad thing, and maybe I just, for example, I just really don't like my nose, and then I feel like more confident when I get a nose job. But then I think what you're saying, it's really interesting to figure out actually where it comes from. Like, is it coming from all these filters that are coming up now on social media and everything? Is it really out of your own will, or is it out of the impact of all of these kind of perfected filters that we have online?
Yeah, all you do to, like, you're comparing yourself or your body with what you see.
Yeah.
That gives meaning, right? To like compare stuff with each other. Because if all the noses were like super big, then
Nobody's gonna change it.
Yeah. So it's also about a bit of like the
and that's
related
also,
images.
Yeah, and then that comes back to, how people always just post perfect pictures of themselves.
Yeah.
And then, then it can bring up insecurities in people. Like, if everyone is just posting perfect pictures of their noses, then if someone is, slightly insecure about their nose, then that could exacerbate that insecurity to an extent that is really not necessary to have. If
That's what I like also then about the pictures that the installation show. You see the rough skin of people, and also when I use it, I see, oh, ooh, that's a bit of weird skin. But when you keep looking at this image, it's also in a way kind of beautiful again, because it's weird to find something ugly. It's just a part of your body. When you strip it of all the definition people put on it, it's just a piece of skin
and
that you can
actually
look
it
at.
becomes so poetic because it's just so real. It's so much more real than the pictures that we see online and the filtered stuff that we post online. Because it's really just the body. Like there's a nose is a nose, an eye is an eye, skin is skin. And
Right, yeah, and I like that everyone that uses the scanner looks like this. So everyone has this weird skin when you enlarge it enough. So in a way, then everyone has it. So
we get
nothing
like
to
a
be
new sense of normal almost, because like it's normal that your skin looks like that when it's so enlarged.
Yeah, and I think I like showing those imperfections with this installation. It's good to show that, I think.
I have an audience question.
Oh, an audience question.
I'm just gonna ask Izah, what was the most interesting thing to you in creating this special movie in Krom's installation?
Oh, this is a question
I'm just
from
gonna read it
the
out loud
viewers.
I
That's super
do it
cool.
naturally,
Yeah.
so-
All
Can you
right,
repeat
we
the question,
gotta.
Really?
Yeah, can you
Man.
repeat it?
What was most interesting to you in creating this special movie in Krom's installation?
I thought it was really interesting to, well, first of all, to work with something that is so concerned with the body in a completely different context and in a completely different art form. And then when I started to do a bit of the movement research, I thought it was really interesting to see, because they're actually all projections, you know, but the way that you shaped it and the way that you realized it gave it really different associations, like the fragmented thing and then the big wall and then the encircled one. And was the question like what I enjoyed? What was the question?
What you found most interesting, if I
Most
remember
interesting, right.
Yeah.
I found it interesting to kind of always see myself. Like when we were filming, and I was always seeing myself. And then there was also this part of me that was thinking about the camera. So I was like, in my body, I was doing my my movement. And then I was seeing myself on the projections, but then I was also aware of the camera and what I was showing the camera. So it was kind of like this three-eyed, I don't know, like this three-sided vision that I was having constantly in my head. I thought that was really interesting.
Was there also a process of getting comfortable with it? Like, was it in the beginning maybe, because to some people, and myself for sure as well, when using it, it's kind of uncomfortable to see yourself. I've used it too many times maybe to have that effect, but for the first time when you're blown up in so much detail on such a big screen, it's kind of uncomfortable to see all the little things in your skin. Did you have that as well? And did it become did you get comfortable with those images when you were like enveloped in them more and more?
Yeah. So I told you, like, we came in like on Monday, and I was like, oh man, I have like a zit on my forehead the day that we're filming. And then we were saying like, yeah, but that's actually part of it. It's great because that's the whole point of it. So we got the audience.
Yeah, we got another
Yeah,
audience question.
nice.
That's just super nice. But I also wanted to tap in quickly before that. I really liked watching you perform, because yours and I really like to blend the digital world with the physical world, and we did it in a way that those projections kind of became physical objects in the room. And you mentioned it before that there's just the shape. You use those shapes as well, and especially with the circle, it was so crazy cool to see you work with just the shape of that circle. So I was really glad that that turning those digital stuff and physical things also worked really well with your decisions in your choreography.
Yeah, and also with the
Um,
fragmented wall, which you told like was like the how you look at things
The
on your
overload,
phone, like
yeah.
this the super rapid eye movement and stuff like that. That it also came back nice in the video. That was so well integrated in the whole performance of
Yeah.
that part. This is a super complex question, I think.
Okay.
How does dance or art bring new perspective to our understanding of our modern relationship with the digital space?
Wow.
Good luck, guys. It's for all of us. So
Yeah,
I
I
repeat
feel
it?
like I feel the responsibility.
yeah,
now
we're
as
looking at you
well.
just to kick it off.
Can you repeat it once more?
Yeah. How does dance or art bring new perspectives to our understanding of our modern relationship with the digital space?
I think what we try to do is just offer experiences that raise questions.
Yeah.
And the only thing we can do, I feel like that, is just raise questions with people and convince people to think about the topic or experience a new thing that they never experienced before. That's how we try to approach that, I think. Right, Joris?
Yeah, I'm also still trying to get a grasp of this question.
I think with dance, I mean, like I work mostly. I work in contemporary dance, and I think what's really interesting to see more and more is that we're starting to have diverse bodies on stage, and not just in a sense of diverse bodies. Kind of going away from this classical image of like long legs, skinny, tall, beautiful girls, but also different types of movements, because people's movements are so individual, and it's you cannot expect everyone to move the same way. It's like expecting everyone to be robots and be programmed in a certain way. Everyone has their really super individual movement qualities, and that's also what we really work with our collective, with Move, is that we really want to focus on the individual qualities that every person has to bring on stage.
Yeah.
And I think that this diversity, and also this, I mean, through this diversity, we kind of lose this sense of normality.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good, because then it doesn't have, we lose the sense of the perfect body. It's just, a body is a body.
Yeah.
And everyone has a different body, everyone moves differently. And I think that's kind of a good impact of dance, or kind of, I hope that it continues to go in this direction, or, yeah.
Is it normally how it goes? I'm not familiar with the whole dance world, but that's not how it normally goes. Like, everyone should be able to do this, or...
I mean, to certain degrees,
Yeah.
yes. Like, you still have choreographies. You still have classical dance, of course, where everyone needs to do exactly the same movement, and preferably also with the same quality, the same timing.
Yeah. It sounds also a bit boring. With the
I mean, I think...
right? Or not?
I
A
do
bit
think that...
robotic, maybe.
Sorry?
A bit robotic, almost like because what you said, like making it more normal, also sounds like it's making it more human again. So it's maybe more relatable as well if you don't see like the perfected version of something.
Yeah, I think in that sense, every type of dance has brings something different to the table. And I think that classical dance is fascinating in a way that it really maximizes the physical capabilities of the body, and it really challenges that. But I am just more inclined to, and it's also because I am a contemporary dancer, I'm more inclined to seeing the diversity of individuals within the movement. I think that's, for me, that's really interesting. And that's also what I like to see.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Yeah, one more thing though about the last question. I think also the power of art to I'm not sure what the question was exactly again, but to kind of give a different perspective on our understanding of our modern relationship with the digital space is, I think it's easy to slide into kind of how do you call it? Like you make one groove in the ground, but everybody goes through the same one, so it kind of makes like a whole which everyone kind of has to stay into because it's so established. And I think art is kind of a way to move away from that like normality and then show something different, and you can like it or you can dislike it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. It's just a different perspective on it, and you can see what you want to take from it. But it's at least a way to diverge from what is already happening to see if there's a better way or a different way that maybe for some people works better.
Yeah, it's all about like showing different perspectives, and I think that's a great thing because there's never just one thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the times we strive for this one thing, this one way of looking into the camera, this one way of like being beautiful, but there's not just one type of beautiful. There's not just there's always different perspectives.
Yeah, I think we also try to do that with our experiences, that it becomes a tool people can use, and we're more interested in how people use it, because that's always different and always diverse. And that's the interesting part of the things we made for me, not the thing itself, but how it gets used every time, different.
Yeah, that's also I think our obsession, or at least interest in interactivity, I think.
Izah, I have a question for you from one of our viewers. Izah, is your dance style a reflection of your perspective to life? You are so amazing.
Thank you.
We have some fans at home watching. Super nice.
Thank you.
But yeah, is your dance style a reflection of your perspective on life?
My perspective
to
on
life.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't think so. Actually, I think that it is. It's somehow a perspective. It is a part of my personality because I think it's inevitable. You know, your personality always comes out in everything that you do. But I don't think that it's necessarily fits like my perspective on life. I think it's more about.
It's also a super big question.
Yeah,
perspective to life. Like, wow.
On life. Yeah, I think it's more about my personality rather than my perspective on life. So if I change that to personality, then yes, it definitely reflects my personality. But it also reflects a lot of experiences that I've had within the dance field, how I developed as a dancer. I was never really classically trained. Like, I kind of started to dance by myself, and I started to take very different dance lessons, and eventually I landed into contemporary dance, and then that's how I kind of developed as a dancer. And of course, my desires, I feel like, you know, my desires and my focuses always has a big impact on how I move. Like, I have, you know, if I focus on very continuous movement, then that really affects how I move eventually as a dancer. Or if I focus on articulation or like isolated movements, then that will, if my interest lies within that, then that will definitely reflect on my physicality. But yeah, I guess it's really more about your personality and what you're interested in that is shown in the movement. Yeah.
Cool. So what is your perspective on, no kidding.
What is life?
Yeah, no, we kind of just got the cue that we're out of time.
Yeah, okay,
and I think that's good.
wrap it up. We have several minutes left. Well, thank you, Izah, for joining yours and me on stage and for collaborating with us. And,
yeah, it was really amazing.
There's more to come. We're going to talk about doing this bigger piece.
Yes, we're going to keep you updated on the bigger kind of film that we're going to be working on. And
I want to thank Tak, of course, for hosting this night and for giving us the opportunity to present the marvelous container here. And come see it this weekend, I think. Am I leaving anything out?
No, just thanks for organizing something that works even with whatever we have to
crazy
do.
Times.
And thanks for our crew, and thanks for our viewers at home.
Yeah. Okay.
Woo, woo, woo.
Alrighty.
Let's wrap it up. Thank you.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Drop it. Just push it down.
Cool. Are we allowed to stand up?
Can we swear now?